you're a friend of the show. It's been a while since you've been on. When you came on before, we talked about another best-selling book, and now you're back with us, Lynita, talking about another best-selling book that you just released recently. I want to talk about that and so much more. Before we kick this conversation off, because we're going to talk about some real life subjects today about balancing acts and also compassion and how to really continue to be resilient in challenging times. But first, I've seen your resume, of course. I know your bio. I know you're super accomplished. You're a lot of things. You're an attorney, so much more as well. But tell us in 2 minutes or less, in your own words, what makes up the one and only Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell?
I work really hard to just be, Shana. And that is a new space for me. As you said, I have alphabet soup. I've been very blessed to live a loving life surrounded by wonderful people who have poured into me that allowed me to get my CPA license. I'm admitted to practice in 2 states as an attorney. I recently completed my doctorate in spirituality, and I've served on many boards in many professional organizations and leadership. But at the end of the day, what gets me up and makes me feel really good about life is the opportunity to just be. And that's be loving, be grateful, be thankful. I have had a lot of things happen in my life. We'll go through a few of those as we go through the interview, including serious health challenges. And I have watched the things that I had placed before family, before health, before well-being fall away. And what has been left is a huge crater, and wondering exactly how I was going to bridge the gap between this idea of success that the world has told me and happiness. And the truth is, the only bridge between those things is joy. And joy, it overcomes the temporary feelings or emotions of happiness, sadness, etc. Joy is knowing that no matter what is going on, that I am. And so my reason for being is to help other people to learn how to do that by living their lives on fire and just be.
I love it. I love it. Just be, it's simple, but it's certainly full phase as well. And we're going to talk more about that. Lynita, excited to have you on the show. If you're watching us right now, hello, welcome. You're watching Real Talk, produced by Let's Talk America Radio with host Shana Thornton. I'm Shana, and our exclusive guest tonight is the one and only Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell. She's a lot of things. She's an inspirational, empowering speaker. She's also an attorney and a CPA. And she's a mom and a wife, and she just explained that she also just wants to be in the moment. We're going to talk about that. But first, you have this new book. It's a best-selling. It's so many individuals I know personally and professionally are talking about this book. I've seen it out there advertised as well. Tell us about this book and what motivated you to write this one, because you've obviously been published before.
Yes. So my latest book that was released December. The year is racing by. I say March is marching on, right? It's Live Life on Fire, the ultimate guide to living a successful life full of peace, joy, and fulfillment. And what that all means is, instead of living with the idea of what some very well-meaning people told us success is. So we were told, if you work hard and you get good grades and you go to college and you get this good job and you check all the boxes with family and with the right zip code and the right car and clothes and the right number in the bank account, that you would be happy. But what wound up happening is, not only I, but my circle of friends and colleagues and the people that I worked with were doing the same thing, and we weren't necessarily ever getting there. Because there is no there to get when you're racing and trying to get to something that's intangible, right? A feeling that you want from a thing, that means that when that thing goes away, then the feeling is hijacked, and then you're looking for the next thing. And so what I had to do is I had to go within, and I wrote my book based on that process. And so I went through a period of self-exploration. after I had a health crisis that left me exhausted and passed out in the middle of the floor. And my daughter, who at the time was 6, put a pillow under my head, kissed my forehead goodnight, and put her little blanket over my body and said, "Good night, mommy." And she was tucking me in instead of me tucking her in. And that's what racing after someone else's idea of success had got me. And so after getting help from a wonderful organization, the Art of Living, and restructuring my prayer life, my meditation life, my life fulfillment, my purpose, my journey, what I came to is it is a process of being still, so being in silence, being in flow, breathing, which then leaves us to live in awe. And awe is a place of intuitive knowing, and that is true success. This is the place that allows you to hear what no one else can hear because they're not listening, and to use that in whatever your business is, whatever the relationship is, for the good of all involved. In my book, I use an example of one of my legal clients and something that I did not know, was wondering about with her deceased mother. And I was able to tune in, and I was just being very grateful and thankful. And I came back to her with the response. And the interesting thing about this, Shana, is she did not ask me, she did not share with me any of this. So it's not like I could have known. But I was able to give her that information, and we were able to use it for her good in her business. But those things can't happen when you are bouncing all over the place, when you are unsure of who you are, why you are, and whom you serve and how you serve, right? But when you know, and you're feeling good about yourself, and you stop chasing all the stuff, and you can come from a place of love, then all those things come in because you're not focused on them. You're focused on helping other people.
Wow, which is empowering.
Yeah.
Yeah. To help other people. You touched on so many great points, Lynita, but one of the things I want to touch on, you said that people tend to chase wherever there is, but that seems so monumental to fix because after all, we come from a culture here in this country where whatever that is, it could be material things, it could be a bank account. I mean, often I've heard people that seemingly were well-intended people, a child would say something like what they wanted to be when they grew up, and people would say, well, it doesn't make enough money. You won't be famous. And I'm thinking to myself, here's an adult, 35 to 45 years old, telling an innocent, eager child that, you know, your whole purpose and so much should be based off of money in a bank account. And do not get me wrong, Lynita, and to our viewers, you certainly do need funds to pay a light bill and pay rent. Do not get me wrong, that's not what I'm suggesting. But when you said that there and almost the rat race that people find themselves in, we're often taught that early in, right? That the measure of success is if you're well known. The measure of success is how much you're making annually. That's the measure of success. So what you're saying sounds awesome, but it also seems to be a conflict with what so much in our culture that we embed in our children early in. Help us out.
Absolutely. And to take it a step further, what I am saying would at first blush be in direct conflict with how I've lived my life and accomplished many of the things that I have. Because based on what I was taught, which was work hard, get good grades, I was able to get a scholarship and go to college. And I got I earned my CPA license because I worked hard. I studied.
Yes.
I got the experience. Then I went to law school and I worked hard and I studied and I got my degree, and then I worked hard and I studied and I passed the bar, and then I got good jobs and I worked hard and I brought in clients and I founded my law firm and I worked hard. But do you see the pattern? We keep with this work hard. I've not said I worked in love yet. I've not said that I was satisfied yet, because there is no satisfying that beast, because there's nothing that you can give it that is going to satiate the hunger. It's like trying to feed your animal yourself. We eat to keep going. It is energy, fuel, right? But if you find the other part of you, the part of you that does not eat anything that is tangible, edible with the mouth and the tongue, right? That is the part of you that you want to work and develop, because
Yeah.
once you do that, it transcends the other. Because even after working hard in each of those professions, I was still at the mercy of someone else.
Wow. Wow.
Right? And that meant that my feelings, my thoughts, my happiness was subject
Yes.
to someone else's actions. And
Wow.
so once I came out of that and I was able to focus more on who I am, what I am, how I serve, as Paul Selig would say in his trilogy of books, I Am the Word. Once I was able to focus on those things, yes, I still deal with clients. Yes, I still deal with people having their ups and downs during their day, but they don't dictate how I feel about my life.
Beautiful.
I'm still in joy with my life.
I love it. I have to ask you this: when you talk about overworking, or you're not, like you said, not working in love and taking claim of what doesn't define you in this country, the United States of America, do you think we overwork? And if so, either answer, what should individuals be doing about it?
So the answer to that is yes, we work too much in the United States. And the first thing that we have to do is to pause and take measure of our
Okay.
life satisfaction. Coach Billy Crusher has an amazing book. It's actually a journal called the Breath Journal. It's available on Amazon. It is an incredible investment. It's only $12, right? And it leads you through a series of activities that gets you to answer the questions so that you can define what life happiness, life success looks like for you. And one of those activities, there is the satisfaction wheel. And if you can't answer at least an 8 on each of those categories, then you need to go further in. For most of us, we don't have the time to even ask those questions, let's alone get them answered, because we're
Okay.
working all the time.
Yes.
And many of us use busyness to avoid answering those questions because we're
Wow.
afraid that it's going to precipitate some action that we don't want to take right now.
Okay.
I have several friends, clients, etc., who during the pandemic, and they were forced to come to a hard stop, had changes in their careers, had
Yeah.
changes in the way that they deal with their loved ones, had
Yes.
changes in their relationship status, had changes
Yes.
even in the way that they viewed themselves.
Yes.
Things that would not have been able to happen if they had not taken time and taken stock. I think that's something that needs to happen on a more regular
Yeah.
basis. And so in the book, Management Mantras by Sri Ravi Shankar, he outlines, and a lot of people in the United States don't have enough time to take off to do this. But when I was doing this on a consistent basis, I can see how this impacted my life so positively. Every month, you need a 3-day weekend, every month. And every quarter, you need at least a week vacation. And every 6 months, you need 2. Now, again, I realize that many, many people in these United States of America
Yes.
do not get that kind of time off.
No.
So what can you do instead? Manage your time off so it's not all packed up at the holiday.
Okay. I
Because I know
see.
that we have in our minds, but I just want all Christmas off. I got you. But you can't save your health and your well-being for the holidays.
Good point.
It has to be consistently managed, consistently enjoyed for us to
Absolutely.
have a full and healthy lifestyle.
Yeah. And that's so key. What you're saying is to really evaluate where you are and even do things. I'm going to touch on the word as self-care, because I
Yeah.
know it's all the buzz lately. But would you say self-care, Lynita, goes hand in hand with this? It may not be a full-blown vacation. Maybe it's not the 3-day weekend because you're going to have it. And don't forget, people have children, as a working mom
That's
yourself,
right.
right? It's something to get away and just do you isn't always plausible. But it can be, right, something as simple as staying a little longer in the bath or the shower, something that allows you to decompress. Is that part of what you're speaking of?
So that is a component, but the main component of these breaks away, the breakaway, is really for us to have time to be silent, to rejuvenate, recharge mentally,
Mhm.
physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And if you can get in a solid hour of
Okay.
meditation, that is as good sometimes as getting the
Okay.
whole week of vacation. Because, like you said, during these times where we are away, we're not really, because we're still tied to the phone. We have
Absolutely.
our families pulling at us. And when I remember a time we used to go on vacation, and I would be more tired when I got back than when we left,
Wow.
needing the vacation from the vacation because we just ran crazy, right? Visiting
Yes.
people, doing things, spending money. How about that? You know, and so if you can do that in the bathtub, meditating in the bathtub is awesome. If you can
Okay.
do that just going outside for an hour after you lay the little ones down at night, then do that. But definitely every day, take time for self. Take time for your soul. It's not
I
self,
love it.
it's soul focused.
I love it. Take time for yourself, like you said earlier, just be and find the joy in the moment and in life, even if that requires you not picking up the cell phone, right? And always engaging and interacting with it. Um, this conversation is wonderful and it's so insightful. You are watching Real Talk edition of Let's Talk America with host Shana Thornton Radio. I am Shana, of course, on-air host and executive producer. I'm on with a friend of this program, the one and only Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell. She's a best-selling author, attorney, and CPA, and she's also an advocate for life, a healthy living, and balancing the life you have, man, woman, or child, finding the joy in the moments. And we're going to talk about when those moments do get tough. But before we transition and begin to wrap up this very meaningful conversation, Lynita, I have to ask you this. When you talked about finding time for yourself, you're a working mom, so I love having you on the program because you can relate. You get it. You're not speaking high sky in the pie. You're like, it's tough being a working mom. You're also a wife. I know your husband has a very busy and demanding career of his own as well as you do. So it's always a balancing act. But when it comes to the little ones that are watching us, are many versions of ourselves, our children and grandchildren, and children that we influence and impact, how important is it for many of us? And if you're talking about Generation X or even millennials, you and I come from the Generation X, when we may have been taught one way, busy, busy, busy is good, right? Because that's how you're getting it done. You're going to be a hard worker, and you put in those 45 years, and then you can get your pension. And we know so much has changed in the work landscape of the United States of America since then. But what do we tell our children? Because they are watching us overwhelm ourselves. They are watching us being exhausted. In the story about your daughter putting the blanket on you, yes, they see this for themselves. And often these boys and girls will grow up to be men and women, and they repeat it because, as you know, normal is relative. It's what they see and know if it's healthy or not, even if they can see it not being healthy.
Yeah.
What conversations should we be having with our children immediately, or showing them, so we break the cycle of being overwhelmed and overworked? How do we do it?
So the first thing is eliminating activities that don't bring you joy.
Okay.
Most of us do things because we think we should be doing them instead of
Okay.
things that we want to do. So when someone brings an opportunity to us and we have that jerk in our stomach and we think that we're just being cowardly, no, that's your intuition. You can listen to that, right?
Okay.
The second thing is stop involving your children in like 50,000 different things. You right? You're one person and they're one person. Let them
That's right.
do one thing and ride that horse, right?
That's right.
I have so many friends who have So not only do they have packed schedules, but their kids have packed schedules. And it is just crazy bananas. You know, you've seen that, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and I tell you, it is overwhelming. And the physical is a manifestation of the internal. And so
Oh,
by the time you start feeling tired and looking broke down, what's been going on inside of you has been going on
oh,
for a long time, right?
I see.
And that's where illness sets in. That's where disease sets in, dis-ease,
Okay.
right? We're not comfortable. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing, reserve time for you first. So when you build out your day, and I know many dualpreneurs where you have your full-time job and then you will
Yeah.
have your other thing that you're working. You start with your stuff first. First and
Okay.
foremost, yours. And even if you can only work on your stuff for 30 minutes in the morning before you have to start the activity, that's fine. Then you do what you pay for 9 to 5, and then you'll be excited to come back to your stuff. But you have to have defined periods of work as well as defined periods of rest. I actually put on my calendar chilling.
I love it.
I'm deadly serious. My birthday is coming up. I've taken the day off, and the entire day is blocked off in my favorite color, purple.
All
Second
right.
favorite color is green. So everything is purple and green that whole day. Because it's for me.
Yeah,
So,
I love it.
right. So those are things that you can do for you.
Yeah, that's so, so key. And you're right, choosing joy. And when we teach our children that, we're putting lessons in them that will be here long when we're gone, that will go to our grandkids as well. And you are so right. We have to learn to say no, because a lot of times individuals that are overachievers, or maybe they're just too nice, sometimes as people will say yes to everything, and they're worn out and they're overwhelmed. And I assure you, I know this from professional and personal experience, other people will tell you no over and over again while you're feeling obligated to say yes. Before we get out of here, I've got to talk about a very important topic I know you wanted to discuss. And we're talking about people going through tough times. If you, in the words of my grandmother, rest her soul, if you live long enough, you will see tough times, right? There's no question about it. But how we behave and how we react in those times, Lynita, is so, so key. I've got good friends who always say, it's not when things are going well that I'm really paying attention. I'm paying attention when things don't go well and how you act or react, because many of us already know that your reaction really defines the moment. Explain how it's so important to really keep a level head, to be stable, and to continue to exert the positive attributes and characteristics, if you will, that we all want our children to be, which is kind and compassionate. How exactly does challenging times and turmoil fit into that, or how it doesn't fit?
So absolutely. The first thing that I do is I employ a technique called I'm word in the one I see before me. And that term actually comes from Paul Selig's book, I Am the Word. And what it means is that whatever I'm seeing in you, I only recognize it because either I've been there and done that,
Okay.
or I'm doing it right now, right? And so if you can relate to somebody on a base level of we are all spiritual beings having a human experience, it makes it a lot easier to, number one, not take what is going on personally, because sometimes when people they're acting out, it feels personal because we're impacted by it. And it feels like it is targeted toward us. But at the end of the day, we don't control how other people act. We don't control what they think or what they say. So whatever
Yes.
comes out of their mouth, whatever their action is about them. It is not about us. That's
Yeah.
the bottom line. And
Okay.
so once we get there, we can now trigger compassion. So,
Yeah.
and I want to be clear, you can have compassion for someone and still be annoyed and or angry about
Okay.
their behavior. I had an experience recently at a conference where I was a
Okay.
speaker, and the organizer was having a full meltdown. And there were some things that were going on where I understood why she was behaving the way she was. I've done big events myself,
Yes.
but because I'm on the other side of it, I also know how things should go, should,
Okay.
right? Because anybody who's done anything worth doing knows, yeah, it all should be great, right? And it's just, right? And they didn't go that way. And she had a choice. She could have said, you know what, this is just the way it is. I'm going with it. Or she did the other thing, which was to be unkind about it. Now, it was not directed at me, but I saw it happening to another, and it was unkind and disrespectful.
Wow.
But I felt compassion for her, even though I found the behavior distasteful.
Yes.
And you have to get to that place of compassion if you're going to really be supportive and be
Okay.
able to be of help. Because really, when a person is behaving like that, they're crying out for help. Now, sometimes you will be the person who can give that, and sometimes you won't.
Absolutely.
Sometimes that timing will be at that moment, and sometimes it'll be later after things have cooled down. And you'll have to use your intuition in order to determine where we fall in that circle, right? But at
Yes.
the end of the day, if you pause and breathe, if you use silence to determine where we should be in flow, right? What we should do or should not do, then we can live in a place of awe, which is using our intuition for the good of all involved.
Yeah, that's so, so true. And using intuition for all involved, that's every single person,
That's right.
and not just the people that are visible or the
Yes.
people well known are the ones that are in the spotlight, but for everyone, because that's so key, one, for how we are and how we see ourselves, but also for the morale of any organization or event as well. And one of the things I try to emphasize to everyone I meet is really try to leave this world, Lynita, in a better place than you found it.
Yes.
And we're like you're saying, when we show behavior like that, if it's overly aggressive or it's just downright mean spirited for whatever reason, right? You may have, like you're saying, you have the right to be upset or agitated or angry, but you don't have the right to lash out and be mean spirited to people regardless.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I totally agree.
Yeah. Sort of goes back to our lessons and our teachings from kindergarten, right? Treat others how you want to be treated.
You know what? Life actually does go back to the basics, Shana, of common courtesy. I was taught, please, thank you, excuse me. And
Yeah.
the shock that comes over people's faces when I say that, even now, it is amazing to me.
Yeah.
I'm just like, why is it so hard to say thank you? What is it about excuse me that it's just troublesome to people, you know?
The basics. Go back to those lessons in kindergarten, and we will be all right. I'm sure that will help, at least to a large degree. Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell, best-selling author, attorney, and leading CPA. Always a pleasure to have you on. I love it. I love it. Tell us again the name of your book, where we can find your book, and also contact information to reach out, because such a wealth of information in terms of joy and living a balanced life. We love it. We're going to have you back on. But what a great time to have this conversation during Women's History Month. Of course, your conversations for man, woman, or child, but obviously we do know the journey of women around the world, and they've been through so much, and that balancing act is right on time with your book.
Well, thank you. So my book is Live Life on Fire, and it can be purchased on Amazon. It is available on Audible, Kindle, it's hardback and paperback, and you can reach me at my website, which is my name, LynitaMitchellBlackwell.com. And I am on most social media platforms under my name, Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell.
I love it. Lynita, you're a friend of this show. Continue to provide empowering information and have all of us find that joy and be in that moment. And I am. I love it. I love it. I love it. Keep going. Keep shining. To all of our viewers, we thank you for joining us tonight. Tag someone in the comments and let them know that this conversation is relevant to them, wherever they are in life, because right now we recognize it's March. There's a lot going on, so much for so many people. You're a working mom, you're a working dad, you have a side hustle you have another job just to make ends meet. Inflation is real here in the United States. We understand that, we get it, but this conversation will certainly empower you and inspire you to not get so overwhelmed with it, and remember to be, and I think you described this, I'm paraphrasing you, Lynita, but the sun will continue to shine. Yeah,
Yes.
it's not the end of the world. Life goes on.
That's right. Life goes on.
Yeah,
and gets
it
better.
truly. Yes, it does. And our attitude, and we have to really claim the joy that we have as well. Thank you, everyone, for watching us. Stay connected with your award-winning Let's Talk America Radio. You can find us at, of course, handle LTA Radio. Again, that's LTA Radio on your favorite social media site, if that's Facebook, if it's Instagram, or it's LinkedIn. Follow us. And again, remember to tag someone. We got another episode coming up soon, and we enjoy having the best of the best guests, just like Lynita Mitchell-Blackwell. Stay tuned, everyone. For additional information, visit ltaradio.com. That's ltaradio.com. Stay connected. Thanks. Bye, Lynita.
Bye-bye.